It's a conflict between two different national movements. One, Zionism, representing the Jewish people, the other, the Palestinian national movement. And therefore, the idea of two states for two peoples gives an answer to national aspiration of different people, and it's a win-win. There are compromises on both sides. Some of the compromises are very difficult to make for leaders, but it's a win-win. And now, without an agreement, it's a lose-lose situation for both sides. My name is Tzipi Livni. I'm the former Vice Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, Justice Minister of Israel. I was born in Tel Aviv. My grandparents from both sides, my mother and my father, came to the land of Israel before the establishment of the State of Israel and before the Holocaust. And both my parents were members of the Irgun, the underground that fought for the establishment of the State of Israel. So their first date was while robbing a British money train to take the money and to buy weapons. And they are the first couple who got married in the independent state of Israel, day after the declaration of the establishment of the state. And the stories that I heard from my parents, instead of stories about Snow White or Red Hood, it was about their history, their how was it to be fighters, how was it to be in prison, and it was a kind of a bizarre situation for a child. And they were part of the Israeli society that in a way was not welcomed by the Israeli establishment at the time. But it was in Tel Aviv where all my friends and their families belonged to the Israeli establishment. And therefore I think that my childhood gave me the opportunity in a way to understand both sides. And later, during my time in politics, and especially when I negotiated peace with the Palestinians, it gave me the possibility also to understand how the other side feels. Not only what are the positions of the other side, but the way it feels. If you would have asked me 2 weeks before I joined politics whether I'm going to join politics, I would have said that no way. And then it was 1995, just a few weeks before the assassination of Prime Minister Rabin. And the Israeli society was split into two different camps in a huge dispute about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and mostly about the Oslo Agreement that Prime Minister Rabin signed with the Palestinians. On one side, there was a camp calling himself the camp of the land of Israel. And they were speaking and preaching about the rights of the Jewish people on the entire land, and the need to keep the entire land, and not to give to the Palestinians even an inch. And since my parents believed in Greater Israel, I also believed that the Jewish people has the rights on the entire land, but yet I believe that the most important thing is to keep Israel as a Jewish democratic state, and in order to do so, there's a need to split the land into two different states, one Israel for the Jewish people and the other Palestinian. And I felt that my voice is not being heard. Because yes, we have rights, but yes, we need to split, we need to achieve peace with the Palestinians, but to negotiate in a different manner. And this voice was not heard. It was like in between these two different camps fighting. And I looked at my children, they were at the age of 5 and 8 at the time, and I said, okay, what am I leaving them? I mean, as a lawyer, bank account is nice, but it's not enough. What kind of a country, what kind of values do I leave them? And I decided to join politics. And this is what I need to do, and to negotiate peace with the Palestinians. This was the main reason for me to join politics.
I just hope that Tzipi Livni will be strong enough to do everything she needs to do to lead Israel. It's not easy, and as a woman it's even harder.
The whole idea is to relaunch negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. We believe that relaunching negotiations and achieving an agreement between Israel and the Palestinians is an Israeli interest. I think that we all understood on both sides that it's going to be tough negotiations. It is touching very sensitive emotional issues on both sides. So we build trust. I remember the first meetings with the Palestinians in 2007. And I and also the Prime Minister, the Palestinian Prime Minister, it was Abu Allah. And the first meeting we were speaking about rights. I was speaking about the rights of the Jewish people, speaking about my family, speaking about my history, started with the Bible, everything was there. And he was speaking about the rights of the Palestinians, about his own family. And we had this discussion going on, and then we said, okay, we are going to achieve nothing while continuing like this. And then we drafted the last article of the agreement without having an agreement, saying that both sides keep their own narrative. But we decide to make peace or reach an agreement for future generations. So it's not about history, it's about the future. And this was a breakthrough. And nobody is giving up his history, his narrative. This trust was not thinking that the other side will give up everything that he believes in because he trusts you and vice versa. But it was about understanding that those of us that are in the room are willing to pay the price. That all of us understand that there's a political price to pay. We were negotiating the creation of a Palestinian state, but it was clear that the future Palestinian state will be demilitarized. The Palestinians said no, no way. So after 2 rounds of two meetings, I said, listen, do you really think that you are going to establish a state and the next day you are going to have aircrafts and tanks and all this? I mean, come on. And they say, no, not at all. We are not thinking about it. So I say, okay, why can't you say demilitarized? And they say, because it's about our dignity and our sovereignty. We deserve a sovereign, independent Palestinian state. I say, this is something that I can understand. And therefore, I suggested, the first article of the agreement will say that we agree to establish an independent, sovereign Palestinian state. The second article will say that this sovereign, independent Palestinian state agrees that it will be demilitarized. And frankly, if you cannot agree to the second article, we cannot agree to the first one. So they said, okay. And this was a moment in which, when you say, you're not going to have a state, it's going to be a state minus, it's insulting the other side. When you say, I respect this, but let's find a solution, it's completely different. And it changes also the atmosphere in the room. And this is one of the examples.
A viable two-state solution is the only way this conflict can end, and there is not much time to achieve it, and there is no other alternative.
I remember the last session of negotiations. We were sitting in Jerusalem with the Palestinian team, and my advisor had these yellow pages, and he wrote just one word, and he showed me this word. And the word was tragedy. We felt like this is a really missed opportunity. And frankly, this was the last time in which Israel and the Palestinians negotiated. And I don't want to enter into the blame game, because there are those using this. There are those in Israel saying there is no partner on the other side, so what's the use of trying? And on the Palestinian side, you find those saying that there is no partner on the Israeli side and blaming Israel. And you know, achieving peace is a win-win. It should be win-win for both sides, especially when the idea gives an answer for national aspiration of both. So my vision for Israel is saying, okay, the idea is to keep Israel as a Jewish democratic state. I want to, this is my national Waze, my national GPS. So let's stop on the way in what I call the peace station. And assuming that nobody is waiting for us for the moment, but this is the road. We are not changing the direction, and we are not putting obstacles on the way. We keep this road open, so in the future somebody will make these decisions. I believe that the difference between a politician and a leader is that politician is thinking about the next day, the next headline, the next tweet, and thinking about him and about his career, his personal career. And leaders are thinking about their people. And therefore I believe that those that will sign an agreement with the Palestinians are those understanding that the personal price that they will pay, and they will pay, are being paid with his life, but of course political price will be paid, is less or less important than the price of their countries and people, the price that their people will pay if they will not reach an agreement. I do hope that young people will join politics if they have an agenda, beliefs, a vision for their country. If this is the reason for them to join politics, it's not for power or not for the honor that you get by being in office, but it is more the ability to make the right decision for your people. It's about right and wrong. I have another story about my mother. Since my mother believed in Greater Israel, and I was speaking about the idea of two states for two peoples for many years, I hope that she doesn't listen. When I give interviews speaking about two states for two people, she doesn't listen, she's cooking something else. And then one day I got a phone call. It was just after a TV interview when I shared my vision about two states for two peoples and the need to achieve peace and the creation of a Palestinian state side by side with Israel. And I got a phone call and she said, Tzipi, I hear you. It's difficult for me to hear what you are saying. But we fought for the creation of the State of Israel. And I see that young people are leaving Israel now. And we didn't fight for a country just for us, the old guys. So we did our part. Now it's for you to make the right decision for the future.